My life is brilliant, my love is pure. I saw an angel, of that I'm sure. She smiled at me on the subway. She was with another man, but I won't lose her.
Why do you think so many teenagers have body image problems?
Because constantly when they're watching commercials, there's like fashion models, and there are these incredibly beautiful people on there, and these people try to look like them, and that's not like, that's really unhealthy, because they're like 14 years old and they're looking at people who are like 20 and they're trying to look as pretty as them, and that's just like not, that is not bad, that's bad.
Well, I mostly it's the media's like it's just the media that's the problems.
I think it's because they see these models on the magazines and they think they should look like them and that they should be as skinny and as, you know, beautiful as they are, and they feel that they're not, so they do whatever they can to feel that way or look that way.
I think it can start for young people when they're young kids. For girls, I think it can start with obviously media. So media would be your movies and your television and your print ads and magazines. But for young girls, I think sometimes it's even the dolls. Like if you think of Barbie, Barbie is this perfect proportioned, beautiful blonde, and most of us don't look like that. And then within the media, most of it's airbrushed, but we don't realize that. And so as a young person, you grow up thinking that little girls are perfect with the little curls, and then they grow up and they're even more beautiful. And that's not true. Not everybody's a size 2. And not everybody is like 5'9". We all have different sizes and different bodies.
And a lot of things also is just that even if it just depends also on how obsessed you are with the magazine picture or some other form of media with a person you want to look like. It also depends on how much you are obsessed with them, and plus, it just...
What do you think is the most serious effects body image has had on your students?
I have had some students that have had anorexia and bulimia a few years ago because they didn't have a good body image of themselves. Even though they were probably absolutely beautiful and perfect the way they were, they didn't see so in their very own eyes. So that's a negative thing, especially when there's expectations that students can't really live up to. There's some pretty tough expectations, especially if they watch movies or those TV shows like, I forget the names of them, but like TMZ, where you have all these stars and you have to wear a certain dress and you have to weigh a certain weight and that kind of stuff. That really does have negative impact on students, yes.
In school, I believe that self-esteem is so important because, of course, if you don't like yourself and you don't like, and that could just be you don't like your intellectual abilities or your physical abilities or your physical beauty, and your self-esteem starts to plummet, there's a direct correlation between that self-esteem and your grades. And people will start to withdraw from society, they won't have as many friends, they won't feel confident, they won't want to perform, and because they don't like themselves. The opposite effect has, if you have a high self-esteem, people are willing to take a chance, willing to take a risk, they accept themselves for who they are, so they're assertive. They do well in a social setting, and as a result, then everything with their school grades, they do well.
Do you think the models on magazine covers are good role models for young kids?
Not really, because for the most part, they themselves can't look like how they look in the magazines because it's all Photoshop. And honestly, I'm just a bit disgusted by that.
Kids?
I really don't, because they're trying to emphasize the point that they're beautiful, making other kids feel like they're not as great, making them take drugs, things that they're not supposed to do. So I would say no.
How responsible is the media for negative influences on self-image?
I'd say pretty responsible. Well, but not, maybe not 100%, but definitely pretty responsible because they, like earlier, they set kind of what they call the standard for looking, good. And I don't think that's entirely true. I think it's whatever you think of yourself. If you think if you like the way you look, then I think that's good.
I think that's the number one negative. What am I trying to say again?
Influence?
That's the number one negative influence on teens. I think the media is terrible. Those magazines that are purchased, or you see them in the bookstores, they show these very, very expensive outfits that your parents, there's no way that they can pay for. And so there's teens wearing these outfits. There's no way that we can afford these for our children, for one thing. And another thing is you're expected to look a certain way. So if you see somebody in a magazine, I should look like this, which may or may not be true, because who knows how many makeup artists they had working on this person, if the photos are doctored, that kind of stuff. So I think the media is the number one outlet of negative body influence, yeah.
When you see picture-perfect models in magazines or commercials, how do they make you feel, and what do they make you think of?
Probably what I think is Photoshop in big words, because have you ever seen like the Maybelline commercials, like how maybe it's Maybelline? I always think maybe it's Photoshop. So
Nice.
When I see these models, I feel like they're beautiful, but I don't think they're beautiful than me. More beautiful than me. Because I'm beautiful in my own way. And these models are just trying too hard to be beautiful for all these people that are, seeing these magazines and watching these movies or shows or whatever. And me, I'm just in school, walking around, doing my own thing. I don't feel the need to look as more beautiful or as beautiful as them.
All right.
With these two types of models, which ones do you think look healthier?
Probably the ones on the left.
Well, actually, these models are considered plus size.
How does that make you feel, and what do you think about it?
Well, I don't know how exactly to word this. It's just, they look much healthier rather than their bones aren't showing, and it just seems wrong that that's showbiz. You have to be extremely skinny in order to be a certain kind of model.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think they look fat. I think they're in better shape, because the ones that aren't, they just kind of look scary. They're really skinny and just doesn't look like natural, like fitness.
I think it's disgusting. Little kids shouldn't be trying to model themselves off of adults who are dressing up like, for lack of a better word, people who dress up really hot to get money. So, yeah, it's not cool.
I think that's just really unhealthy. It's just very, and it also depends on how easily motivated the person is. Easily changed, because if they just look at a picture and I'm going to be that person, they have a very, very easily motivated, they have a very easily changed personality, and so basically they'll believe anything, and so it's kind of easier to show them a healthier body image, and then that would be the easier persuasion, and that would also be a persuasion. So yeah.
Do you think this is an accurate representation of what every single male in the U.S. should look like and does look like?
no,
Why?
because number one, that looks like Photoshop, and number two, you could see, I did a filming class, you could see that his head right there, it's like kind of
It made a lot of sense.
it's kind of more pale than his body, and yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
But Yeah, honestly, there are two buff.
So do you think that these are accurate pictures of what every single male should look like?
No.
Why?
Well, look, first of all, they look like they're on steroids.
Do you think that that's an honest expectation of what every single American male should look like?
No.
Why?
I mean, my dad looks nothing like this, except I think he's cool.
Do you think this is an accurate representation of how every male in the U.S. should and does look?
I don't, because I honestly think that if that was someone I knew, that I would kind of be repelled by them, especially these two, or actually all of them, because they're kind of too muscular and trying too hard. Can I see? Trying too hard to look that way, and it's honestly very creepy.
Do you have anything to add?
I think everyone's fantastic. Everyone's beautiful. Everyone has big brains, and it's a tough time. And really, we just have to have conversations with our parents, with other friends that are well-adjusted. Why is this student very, very happy all the time, even though they dress weird or they, don't really look the most amazing as far as these magazines go? Why? How are they being successful? And talk to them and find out, and then we can do that as well.
Yeah. When people base themselves off of models, it's really sad because they're trying to make themselves perfect in an imperfect, world. See, these people, the models are not perfect, and people know that, but they don't seem to understand that, or they're refusing to understand that, and that's really sad because these young girls, they see these beautiful actresses and they're like, why don't I look like that? And then they start making themselves look like that by various ways that are very inhumane. So just you gotta take your beauty from inside, because I think they're beautiful and hot they're used as synonyms, I think, but what I think beauty is something that you get from yourself. See, hot is something where it's that girl's hot. It's she is too pretty, and it's it's kind of fake. You don't really believe that it's that hot. And yeah, so if it's beautiful though, then you're wow, and you can just look at her. I mean, not in a creepy way, but it's she is beautiful. She's yeah, beautiful, and it really comes from the heart, and it's your sense of beauty, and it's your type of style that you base yourself off of, and I think that is what everybody should do.
Everyone is beautiful, even if they don't think so, and that they should, even if they don't think so, that they are, like everybody else thinks so.
All right.
I think, earlier, the only really way to look good is if you just, eat good and, set, goals, personal goals. And just, if you like the way you look, then you look good, then it doesn't really matter what other people say. And if you have good friends, they'll positively influence your body image. And so if you're around people with that, call you, fat, or, make fun of the way you look, or you're too short or something, you shouldn't hang around them. You should be with more people that support you.
You are beautiful in your own special way, and don't let anybody tell you that you're not, because you are. And be a leader and always have faith in yourself.
Beautiful.
Happiness